All right. Hello, hello. We are live. This is Tyler James from Comics Launch, and we've got a good discussion queued up today. It's going to be a wide-ranging discussion, but the theme that we're going to dive into is why creators need to take better care of themselves, and we'll also talk about how they can do that and how to prioritize things that, honestly, I don't always talk about on this show as well. And so to join me, I don't. Looks like we're having a little bit of feedback here. Is that on my end or your end, Robert?
See here. Audio. We have.
It looks like you have your earbuds in, but is it coming through there?
It's coming through here, yeah. So let's see.
Is it coming through there?
It's coming through here, yeah.
That is
all
weird.
Right. I know. Let's go ahead and
try. Do you potentially have YouTube on or anything else?
Let's see.
Or another thing on?
Let's try. That's probably it.
Yeah.
There it is.
This is the fun part about going live. and why, and why I, as the host, should not show up just 30 seconds before we're supposed to go on live. But hey, at least it gives us the chance to get pushed out into the feed a little bit, get some people over here.
Get some people, yeah. Let's see.
We'll make this interactive. Anyone watching the replay or tuning in live.
It was, I think I killed it. It was a Twitter. It was Twitter hiding there that was giving.
So, we can just keep blaming. We can blame Elon for that one then.
Yes, I think they're going down anyways. So,
yeah. Well, let's just begin.
Let's do it, man. I'm excited. Let's do this.
With I'm going to give you a proper introduction. Roll out the Comics Launch warm welcome.
Nice.
But my guest today is an Emmy-nominated TV editor and the writer-director of the Kickstarter-funded award-winning horror short film called The Crows of Culver. He's also the writer of Turner Family Terrors, the fourth issue of which is on Kickstarter right now. And he's contributed to Kickstarter-funded horror anthologies such as Nightmare Theater 2 and Concrete Arcanum. And so I'm welcoming back to Comics Launch, Robert Krisch. How you doing, Robert?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm super excited to be here with you, man, because it's been like I met you 3 years ago, and it was for I just finished my first comic, first issue, Turner Family Terrors, and I went to Kickstarter, and I was nervous, and I got some awesome backers, but you opened my eyes to the possibilities of so many things that I needed to work on, and so I jumped into Comics Launch, and the rest is history. I think in my first Comics Launch campaign, I had more backers in day one than I had in a 30-day campaign for my previous issue. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to. It's been a long journey. It's been like 4 or 5 years through a pandemic. And we're excited. We're excited to be here with issue 4. And I hit you up with a whole bunch of topics to talk about, kind of a potpourri of stuff. And you went with the one that I wanted to talk about the most. And I think it's probably the most helpful, but also the most personal, I think. So we're gonna have some feels today, so it's cool. Last night I was on Blake's Buzz, and we were just being goofy, talking about everything. So I'm excited to talk about the book, but also talk about my life and some things that I have discovered that have kind of helped me over the course of recently when I got sick, but also just in general making independent comics, because it's, as you know, man, and everyone listening and watching, it's tough. Yeah. It's tough to do it. It's tough because it can be a roller coaster. It can be an emotional roller coaster. It can, a lot of us are doing this as second jobs, working on it at night and in the mornings. A lot of us have families. And so it's tough to um, like keep just focus on ourselves sometimes and our mental health and just our physical health. And so I write this comic, and we'll get to it later, that's has a lot of dick jokes and spit takes and all that kind of stuff. And so it's fun for me. But I have a list of things that I think that'll help help fellow creators when they might need some help.
Yeah.
So
well, I mean, we're going to dive into it. You sent me a lot of ideas, and I always appreciate this. I mean, people know, and I'll put the public service announcement out again, is that I love to talk to creators, but as always, like, this is a show for creators. And so while we love talking about projects, and it always needs to be in the context of themes, skills, topics that are going to be particularly gerund to creators, and not just, hey, here's why my latest comic is awesome. Everybody,
sure.
like, everybody's comic, is worthy and deserves to be celebrated. But on this show, we try to strike a good balance there.
Absolutely.
But I do want to not be remiss about letting people know what Turner Family Terrors is all about. The project is went live this week or yesterday.
On Tuesday. Tuesday. Yeah.
Yeah. These days they fly by.
It keeps going, man. Time just never stops, right?
Never does. What can you tell the folks about Turner Family Terrors?
Turner Family Terrors is a horror comedy family adventure. Think The Simpsons meets Hellboy. It is about a sweet, suburban, but utterly dysfunctional family, the Turner family, as they are tasked with saving the world from a ragtag gang of monster morons. It's got a little bit of a Scooby-Doo look to it. The jokes are like a Rick and Morty or a South Park. And I would say my main influence is Mel Brooks's Young Frankenstein. It's that classic kind of horror monster black and white look crossed with an absurd over-the-top comedy. And my comedy follows a family of four, Maddie and Sophie and Bob and Laura Turner, as they kind of like they're navigating like their own dysfunction and traversing the pitfalls of parenthood. And so for me, it's fun because it's like a personal story, and I can bring in a lot of my own anecdotes and kind of write about my own frustrations and my joys and my sadness, but like mainly lean into the humor and kind of crank that humor up to 11 while layering on like monster stories and myth and mystery, action, adventure, urban fantasy, but dick jokes and spit takes. So there, if you roll that up and smoke it, then that is Turner Family Terrors.
Yeah. And, I like yourself, I back a lot of Kickstarter projects. They don't always go to the top of the read pile. But that means when I do have a chance to sit around and read some comics or take a trip, I can grab a nice stack. And I was actually on a family road trip when I finally got around to reading the first batch of Turner Family Terrors, and it was a trip, and it was like the perfect ride read.
Nice.
So I endorse and I recommend the books that you're creating.
But I think this is what you wrote: delivering madcap road trip adventures of the most dysfunctional family. Turner Family Terrors almost defies description. You simply have to buckle up tight and read the damn book.
Hey, so, there I am. I made the.
There you are.
I made the blurbs.
You made the blurbs. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm a fan of the book, and I'm glad you're making it. But also, it's funny because the topic that you put out was sort of prioritizing creator wellness and mental health and avoiding burnout and things like that. And you ended up having to push back your launch due to we were scheduled to talk a month or two earlier, but you got a bad bout of the latest strand of whatever COVID's running around, and so it was an opportunity to sort of practice what you're what you're trying to preach here, and like, okay, you know what? I was going to launch this month. The whole year was planned around that. And you know what? It does not make sense to feel the way I'm feeling, and still try to just buckle through and push the launch. But how difficult was that decision to make?
It was difficult on one end because I've never really done that. Like I've always kind of set a schedule, and I always hit those deadlines. But the way I was feeling at the time, like it was kind of a no-brainer to do it. Like I got COVID when we were in New York. My son's wiffle ball landed in the bushes, so I went in and I got it, and then I ended up getting poison oak. So I had that at the same time.
Oh.
Then as I'm taking all these antibiotics and steroids, and my mind is just like out to lunch, and I'm starting to feel a little bit better. And my wife nudges me and she says, "Oh, by the way, there's a hurricane that's coming to California. The first time a hurricane landed here in 80 years. And so we had to like do some sandbagging around the house. And then while the hurricane was going on, there was an earthquake that happened at that time. And then a day later, I look out the window and there's a coyote running down my street, chasing my neighbor who's got their little poodle in their hand. This coyote's trying to eat my neighbor's poodle. And I thought that was kind of like some sort of like weird, like fever dream. Like it was an illusion or something that was just so out of it. It was like Jim Morrison-esque fever dream that I saw this coyote. But a couple days later when I launched, and I hope this was a good omen, that the coyote showed up again and ran right by me. But it was rough. It was rough for me. And so one of the things, like physically, it took a toll on me, but I knew I could probably get better with that. But mentally was the thing where it was rough. And so what I did during that time is I kind of was forced to explore some new avenues to get some of the help that I needed. Some of them I already knew about, and I'll share those with you too. But some of them were new that I had no idea about, and I want to kind of just talk about those. And these are free resources that people can take advantage of, and they just might not know about. So one of them is something that I recently found out. It's called the warm line. The warm line, and it's not a hotline; it's a warm line. And basically what it is it's a phone number that you call, and you can get in touch with a peer, a volunteer, sometimes a therapist, sometimes a clinical social worker, or it's just a warm body, just someone who's there to help. And you can call and you can just talk. You can just talk for 15, 20 minutes about whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to get off your chest. And usually they're there and they'll listen to you, and they're a lot of the times they're not therapists, so they're not going to go into some big spiel, but they'll let you know that you can just take things slow. You can take things slow. You don't have to accomplish everything at that exact day. You don't necessarily need to look at the big picture of all the stuff that you have planned. Look at like just what you want to do that day, and maybe tick off one or two things, and give yourself some grace. Give yourself some grace. Know that if you are physically sick, like I was, give yourself some time to recover. Don't necessarily jump right into all this stuff. And that was one of the reasons why I postponed my Kickstarter. But the warm line, it was great. It was something that, and I have one here that I wanted to share. And there were two that I used. One of them was called the San Francisco Pier Warm Line, and the other one was called the OC Warm Line. Also, it's called the NAMI Warm Line. And the phone number there is 714-991-6412. And so it's just cool. It's just cool to know that if for some reason, the people that you normally talk to, whether it's your wife or your parents or your therapist, if you can't get in touch with them, you can give this number a call, and there are warm, friendly, wonderful people on the other end that can talk with you.
Mm.
And so that was a big thing for me.
I'm curious, like, how'd you discover that, and where were you at, where, or what was going on? Just that was like, you know what, I I need something. Like I'm just curious, like, because I feel like a lot of times we probably wait too long
Yeah,
to ask for help or to get
sure.
support for whatever's going on. But
Yeah.
I'm just curious, like, how did that? How were you aware of that? And and what was it? There's like, you know what? Yeah, let me give that a try.
Let me
Let me
give
get out of my comfort zone here and just.
Well, there were two things that were happening at that time. Like I have a wonderful relationship with my wife and we talk about everything, but I was dog sick and she had a bunch of stuff on her shoulders, taking care of the kids
Mm,
and locking down the house and figuring out what's going on with this hurricane.
yeah.
So, and my normal person that I talked to with my therapist, he of course was on vacation for 2 months. So I couldn't really talk with him. And so I kind of went through my normal channels and there's some other people that put me on the books, but some of these steroids that they had me on to kind of work out some physical stuff, it was taking a toll mentally.
Hmm.
So I was like, you know what, I need to find someone to talk to. And so I did some research and I found these lines and I was like, what the hell? I'll just give one a call and
Yeah.
see like if it works. And it did. It did. I was like, great, like this totally works. So that's really that's where it was. It was me exploring something out of kind of a necessity because my
Yeah.
normal channels were being kind of taxed a little
Right.
bit.
No, that
So
makes a lot of sense.
yeah. But I have a few other ones here that we can just like tick off and then talk about whatever else we want to talk about. So I'm a big baseball fan, and Major League Baseball is doing an awesome campaign right now. Their campaign is a one team campaign. We're all on the same team, and they're running PSAs and basically saying that you can be kind to yourself and be kind to others, and that it's okay to ask for help if you need it. And so they have a text, and you can text them and talk to someone for free. And so it was cool. It was like just scrolling through Major League Baseball highlights and then coming across this really wonderful PSA that they were doing to really make some awareness for mental health. And so I thought that was great.
Yeah.
What else we got? So one of the things that just in general, just about therapy, like some people don't know that they have access to it through even their own insurance. One thing I found out a couple of years ago is that my own insurance, which is like pretty mediocre, because of the pandemic and because of the rise of telehealth and Zoom calls, like I found out that they had changed their policy and they offered telehealth for free for zero copay. So one of the things that you can do if you're thinking about that, and I would recommend it, if you want someone to talk to, you can just call your insurance company and see if they're offering those services now for free.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool. And then to kind of tie it into comics, the dead zone and how to kind of like deal with that. And what strategies am I using for this particular Kickstarter? And one of the things that I've heard a lot of ways to kind of deal with the dead zone. One of the ways that I'm doing right now is just trying to shorten it. And a lot of people have been using that technique. I have been a huge fan of 30-day campaigns. 30-day campaigns. I've done 4 30-day campaigns. It allows me to do an audible here and there. It allows me to like be on the fly and do all this stuff. But for this campaign, instead of 31 days, I'm doing 24. I'm going to do 24 campaigns. I know people 24 days. I know some people do like 20 or 14. I think even for one of your campaigns, did you do a 10-day campaign?
Yeah, 10 was the shortest I did. I think that was the
Yeah.
campaign. Yeah, we did a couple 10 days for Happy Hill subsequent issues.
Yeah.
part of that was because we were trying to get alignment between our Kickstarter orders and the orders that we would place for the direct market,
Mhm.
and waiting 6 weeks for one and then getting your retailer order, like the timing was just too difficult otherwise. But a 10-day would have helped a rapid turnaround. I felt
Yeah.
like subsequently 10 felt a little too short for
Yeah.
what we were trying to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
uh yeah, my latest campaign, I think it will end up being in the low 20s.
Yeah. So
So
that's what I'm doing now. I'm
yep.
lowering that and seeing it'll just shrink the dead zone. Like for my last campaign, that I didn't have that much of a dead zone. So I just had steady backers the entire time. So I was thinking that this campaign, the end result, funding and potentially backers might be a tad down just because I cut off a week, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Right now we're on pace to exceed backers. We're like 30% more backers right now with the same amount of funding.
Hmm.
So yeah, so we're doing well, and there's so many books. There's so many incredible books that are on Kickstarter right
Yeah.
now. It's amazing. It's amazing to um, uh, see the work and back those books, and do cross promotion with a lot of wonderful creators. But there's a lot of books out there. So I'm kind of just saying, wherever the funding leads me, it'll be great. And just give myself some grace, and not necessarily think if I don't hit a certain thing, it's going to be not successful. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah, it's so easy on a day-to-day basis to let yourself get on that up and down, roller coaster ride, where and the danger of like getting super excited or feeling so confident and great when you have a really big day on Kickstarter and a lot of pledges and some people coming in with a big dollar amount is like 2 days later when someone drops the campaign or a big backer just cuts it and all of a sudden you go down. It's like, well, if I made the earlier days mean I'm awesome, well, that means I have to make these down days mean I'm what, I'm terrible. And
yeah,
the real brilliance is not to personalize it at all, and to
yeah,
just find the gratitude that people are coming out for it and supporting it, and understanding that like every campaign has its ebbs and flows.
yeah,
And that is one of the nicer things about becoming a veteran on the Kickstarter platform, is you sort of can get there. I saw one creator in the community say, well, it's launch number 9 and I finally got to the point where I launched with almost zero jitters, which is a good place to get to,
yeah.
uh,
I know. I read that too. I was waiting for the line where he would say, and I'm still nervous every time, but
yeah, but it
no, he's
didn't.
like,
Yeah,
nah, no,
it
not
went the
nervous.
other way.
Just,
and
yeah, it went the
and
other way.
yeah, I there are things that I will find myself interested in, or have some nerves around, but usually it's not like, will it fund, or will it succeed, or will I be
Mm,
successful. It's usually it's stress around just certain products that I'm like, oh, this is the first time I'm going to create this, I hope that doesn't work out. Or
mm,
if there's a unique shipping logistic thing that I have to figure out. It's usually all around what's new, what's uncertain, and that's, I think, why so many people even still are sitting on the sidelines in Kickstarters, because yeah, when you're doing a Kickstarter for the first time, or first couple times even, you're going to do a whole lot of stuff that you have never done before, and you're going to be way out of your comfort zone.
yeah. I've done 5 campaigns, and this is the third campaign with Comics Launch, and it is the 4th issue of a 4-issue miniseries. We have more issues planned, but this was I wanted to get to this endpoint for our campaign, and think of it as a huge success for me personally and professionally. But what's fun is my sister is hitting Kickstarter for the first time.
Oh, really?
And she is a children's book author, and so I am helping her do her first campaign, and I get to talk with her, and she has the wide eyes of someone very first and fresh to Kickstarter. And so it's fun to kind of like see things through, a pro's perspective, someone doing it multiple times, but also kind of going back to the roots of the enthusiasm you have when you first get on there. And so that'll be a fun campaign. Henry Doodle Don't children's book coming out in a few months. So
all right, we'll keep an eye on that.
Keep an eye on that. Yeah, I see you scrolling through the Turner Family Terrors page there.
Absolutely, yeah, showing off a little bit of the book. So another topic that you'd flagged that I thought would be worth touching on here. You wanted to bring up the state of the Kickstarter video. You yourself, you're a video pro, but
yes.
I know as you've been sort of looking at behind the scenes and looking at past campaigns, like
yes,
you've been sort of questioning how important a project video actually is.
Yes.
So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I was thinking about this over the past few days and this morning. I've been trying to crunch some numbers as best I can, but also take in some anecdotal info for some friends. And so basically, just in general about the Kickstarter video, it's a great tool. But it's one of the things about being a creator and being on Kickstarter. It's like time management and getting your project ready to go on to Kickstarter. There's so much to do, and sometimes the video can be like a little bit of a pain in the butt to do, and some people are maybe scared by it. But there were a few things that I kind of noticed that could cut the time in half, or cut the time to like create the video. You could basically, the goal here is to create a better quality, higher quality video and do it in less time. Right. So one of the things that I've noticed is that the sizzle reel that people are putting at the top of their video, if you're doing one campaign, two campaigns, think of Kickstarter or something you're going to be doing for a while. And if you have a book that's serialized like mine, what you can do is you can create a really great sizzle reel in the first issue. So put the time, the money, whatever you want to do into having a really cool kind of sizzle reel going on. And then you can use that, and it's already done. Yeah. So it's already done for future campaigns. So you can do something a little bit different for those campaigns. You can just record yourself and your book, but you already have the kind of flashy thing already done. And so that's something that'll save you time in your subsequent campaigns. The other thing is, for other campaigns, I'd set up my tripod, I'd set up my iPhone, I'd get all this stuff ready to go. I'd record it with my lavs and all this stuff. For this, what I've noticed that a lot of people are doing, they're using their webcams. They're just using the camera on their iMac. Yeah. So I was like, well, let me test it out, see how good it is. The quality was pretty good, and I had a microphone, like a podcast mic, a little mic that I added. So I was like, well, let me see if I can do this video like fast, just with my webcam and with my mic. And I was able to do it, and it looked good and it sounded really good. And so that's like a quicker thing to do. And I've seen some campaigns now where some people are just going on with their they're just shooting their themselves with their webcam, scrolling through their campaign and having a one-on-one talk with their audience. One campaign did that recently, and they did something like $30,000-$40,000. And so the bigger question that I was kind of having is, and anecdotally was, is anybody watching these?
Hmm.
How is viewership with these videos? And another thing, I was talking with my sister because she's coming to the platform for the first time, and she was saying, I asked her, does she watch the videos? That was the one thing that I kind of asked her about.
Yeah.
And she said, you know what, Rob, a lot of the campaigns that I really like, that half of them don't even have videos.
Hmm.
And I was like, huh. And so that's not to say like those campaigns would probably do better if they had videos.
Yeah.
But it made me think. It was like, well, like there are campaigns out there that sometimes don't have them. But what and for me, for my series, I've seen, and I was trying to crunch the data, but I've seen that viewing of the videos has maybe ticked down a little bit. But I think that I'm on issue 4 now, so people kind of know what to expect when they click on my campaign. And so like a lot of times, like what I do when I go into a campaign, I go right to the variant covers and I see what I want. And then I pick the hottest cover and then I'm out on the page. So, but one of the things that ultimately I've come down on is that you definitely need it. You definitely need it. And it doesn't have to be some sort of big fancy production. But what you need to do is you need to make a connection. You need to make a connection with your audience. And some people can do that with just an iPhone and just talking to them about their project. And some people, you know, they put all the bells and whistles into it.
Yeah.
But definitely, even though it would be nice to say, oh, maybe I don't want to spend the time on it, but definitely do it. And yeah, and just work on that sizzle reel. And yeah. So there.
Yeah. You know, in looking at some past campaigns, because you brought up this topic and I wanted to take a look, and the number of video, like the only metrics you really get from Kickstarter are how many video plays did you get, and then what percentage of your plays were completed.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit, it's a little bit of a potentially misleading metric, or just a metric that doesn't tell you a tremendous amount. What I found for a lot of my past campaigns is that like that plays completed is only, was routinely about 15%, not a tremendous amount. But so it kind of shocked me when I like just looked at my current campaign for Epic, and very low number of videos played, like 187 right now.
Okay.
Which is, dramatically less than some of our other Kickstarters, and that's probably a testament to that we seem to be driving we're driving less traffic to the campaign.
Yeah.
But 49% of them were played to complete.
Wow.
Which I've never seen that high since like the early days. And the other thing that I'm noticing about this campaign is we actually have a pretty high percentage of brand new first time backers. And this is a book that's like, it's a different sell to a lot of the stuff that we've been putting out lately, even though it's a return to a book that we did out. But we haven't launched a superhero book on Kickstarter in like 8 years. And so
I haven't bought one of your superhero books on Kickstarter. It's been a steady stream of awesome like horror books. And so what's cool, I love that you're bringing this back, because like for me, I got tapped into the community 4 or 5 years ago. And so you have this backlog of great work, and I get a chance to, people get a chance to check it out. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. It doesn't surprise me that you're getting all these new backers.
Yeah. And so I think that tells me that like our existing audience, they're probably like, all right, what is this again? Or like, this looks different. Maybe we actually have to watch this video, versus like another sync campaign where, hey, I'm in, you don't need to sell me. I don't like, I can read the page for myself. And so like, where I see the video as being like the people who watch the videos are people that are on the fence and are usually new people.
Yeah.
And those are the people that you most want to make a connection with, and you most want to, convey that you're serious about this. And putting together a decent video tells that. But again, we're in the comics category. Nobody's going to judge us if we don't make a polished, director, Oscar-worthy video, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, man.
Yeah. So I think we're falling out. The advice still stands. Make the video, but don't let it be something that you are stressing about. And I also love the comment that here you are on your 4th issue of this series. Feel free to be able to liberally reuse stuff from previous videos that you felt good about that worked.
Yeah.
Because the people that are least likely to watch that new video are people that have backed your past Kickstarters, probably, because they're just going to jump in and get to start looking at the pledges. So I think that's a good tip, and definitely
and
something
have fun with it. Try to have fun making a video. Like, throw some jokes in there, throw some bloopers. For my first Turner Family Taros, it was during the pandemic, and I had a good minute in the heart of it where I just did like a check-in with the Krisch family during the pandemic. And we just wrote all these jokes. One of them was that my daughter wanted a dog during the pandemic. And the joke was that we got her a dog, but it was one of those robot vacuum cleaners because I was allergic to dogs. And so we got her a robot vacuum cleaner instead. And then my daughter is like feeding the robot vacuum cleaner like dog food. And the gag was that we didn't have the heart to tell my daughter that it wasn't a dog. So like it's one of those things. Like my videos have evolved. I did that a few years ago, and then now things are a little bit more streamlined. But every single time I try to find a way to sneak in my family. This time around, I have a picture of my son sneaking a read of my comic book, which is about a 14 plus or 17 plus comic, and he's sneaking a read. And then my daughter at the last free comic book day at the comic book, she officially took over my table, and my 9-year-old, and she started signing bookmarks for everybody. And so have fun with it, but I went into it a few years ago coming from the video side thinking it was going to be make or break the campaign.
Yeah.
And so it's not, but just have fun with it and connect and try to connect as best with your audience, show your product, but also show your passion. Yeah. And you'll be all set.
Yeah. And so another topic that I know you'd mentioned, and obviously four issues in, got to a good endpoint here, or at least a good collection point, is this serialization versus graphic novelization approach. And obviously you've been doing the chapter by chapter as floppies. Are you happy with that decision? And what are sort of the benefits of doing that versus, hey, like this was conceived as a graphic novel, let's go for the 120-page graphic novel?
Well, I think, I'm absolutely happy with doing it, floppy by floppy. This is my first graphic novel. So I could have waited 3-4 years or something to drop my book, and I would be at the spot I am now. Yeah. I wouldn't have met anybody in the community. I wouldn't have backers. I wouldn't have people that, come up to me. And at Free Comic Book Day, someone said, "I have 1 and 2. Do you have issue 3?" And I said, "Oh yeah, here you go." And I was like, and the buddy next to me, the artist, kind of nudged me and said, "Hey man, you have a fan." And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I have a fan." And so, but basically you can just build your audience.
Yeah.
You build your audience, and if you release a number one, people will buy a number one, so they'll take a chance on it. And so you can get your first issue out there. You can start building an audience, start meeting people in the community. You can have your book as a freebie to build your newsletter. I've taken the comics launch approach to list building, and started with 0 4 years ago, and then called all my buddies and got 100. Did Facebook ads, got 300 more, had a few more launches, got another couple hundred, and then partnered up with some other creators with some different endeavors, like the Urban Fantasy Club a year ago, with a bunch of great creators. And that got us, many, many more. And so, recently there was a viral giveaway with Sarah Cook, and that was another avenue, and that got many, many more. So in a few years, I went from 0 to 4,000 or something, and that's just been that's what's one of those things. Like, it's no joke when you have your videos and you're like, just start by calling 10 friends, get 100 this week or this month, and just keep doing it and keep making books and keep supporting people and creators. And then it just starts to add up. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then the gap between, just getting started and starting at 0 versus and people coming up, hey man, how you doing this? Or I'm thinking about launching something. And then all of a sudden you find it's like, oh, wait a minute, I am no longer new at this. In fact, I'm the person able to provide a whole ton of advice and support.
I mean,
that's fun how that snowballs.
It's funny how you join your program, and that's one of the first things you focus on is the newsletter. And I'll hit that, I'll hit the hammer on that as well. Cause when I look at the numbers, like I'm those are the people who come to my Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And it's good and it's fun because like each month I check in with people, and it's like having a beer, with them, and like chewing the fat about what's going on in your life. And like, oh yeah, I just got these pages in, we just finished these covers, and this is what's going on, and had fun with the family doing this. And people check in with you, and then when Kickstarter starts, like they'll come and pick up your book. And so it's fun to keep that dialogue going on with fans of your series. And so so it's vital. And I was at Free Comic Book Day hanging out with a lot of people, and I was pushing the newsletter, and I was giving away some comics, but you had to sign up for the newsletter. And so I had some people come up to me, and they're like, oh yeah, I need to do that. And I was like, yeah, it's great.
Yeah, you need to do that. Yeah.
You need to do that. Yeah. It's a great tool. And so, because social media is just like is in the ether somewhere. And and going back to mental health, I think the less you're on social media, probably the better mental health you have. So, and people open your emails every now and then. So that's good. And now we're sitting at issue 4, with lots of fans having had some amazing experiences. I backed my editor, Nicole DeAndrea, 4 years ago. I backed her Kickstarter. She had a tier that says, I'll be your editor. And I was like, okay, yeah. So she contacted me. She's like, what do you got going on? And she's like one of my good friends. And she's been my editor for the last 4 issues. She does a lot of stuff for Scout. She does a lot of stuff for a lot of and she's wonderful, wonderful. Oh, and I met Kyle Roberts,
Yeah.
who did this cover here. I met him through Blazing Blade of Frankenstein. They had a tier to do some inks, and so I backed Clay's awesome book and got Clay to do our cover, or Kyle Roberts. And this issue here, we're giving away as a bonus for our early bird rewards. And for another few days, you can grab this for over, if you're over $30, you get one of our rare variants. And so if you scroll to the top there, right there, there's some early bird reward specials.
Yeah. Great.
And yeah. So
you got it on the new dynamic sidebar too. So
oh yeah. That was awesome. Like that went down and I was almost done and I had to scramble, but you had already posted that your campaign, right? You launched and they switched it like that day.
Yeah. And so I was scrambling on day one, on launch day, to get my dynamic table of contents side headers featured, and then to get that information out to all the Comics Launch pros who.
Yeah, that was great. I stole your idea of the emojis. So I put a few, emojis there. I didn't put emojis on everything, but I did steal your, I figure half the stuff that I'm doing now, I learned from you. So I figured if I stole the emojis, it'd be okay.
No, I put it out there. As with just about everything, we want to see it put to good use and people get results, because as this whole Kickstarter tide keeps continuing to grow, it's changing lives and making connections and letting things be possible. We were talking a little bit about serialization versus graphic novelization. It's just, and you see memes about like comics will break your heart going around and it's true. Like there's going to be ebbs and flows and ups and downs. Sometimes the downs are really bad. It was gutting to have to say goodbye to my epic series when our direct market orders it was like clear that wasn't going to be enough to sustain the book, relying primarily on comic shop orders and selling at a 60% off the cover price as the main way that we were financing the book. It just wasn't going to work. So it's just super cool to fast forward several years. Like there was a while where I was like, oh man, if I could do it again, I would have just serialized it. But the other option is, oh, well, if you still want to make it, or if you want to bring it back, guess what? Kickstarter can really help resurrect older properties, as well as, be there for the next great thing. And so it's just, it's, again, restoring my faith and just all the work that I've put into Kickstarter. It's nice that it can can be used in different ways. And
and as someone who I jumped into really being tapped in 4 or 5 years ago, we have creators. I remember one of the first comics that resonated with me was Clay Adams' Deadskins.
Yeah.
And Deadskins, I was writing all these crazy over the top comedies, and I was like, is there anybody else on Kickstarter or anybody else doing this kind of stuff? And then a week later I ran into I found Deadskins, and that was a comic that Clay did 10 years prior or 8 years prior, and that was a re-release that came back, and that's like my favorite comic. So and so I backed that and met him and backed Nightmare Theater 1 and loved that book, and just cold called Clay and was like, man, I would love to be a part of this, and submitted for Nightmare Theater 2 and got in. And we're selling that book on the Kickstarter, and our Concrete Arcanum anthology. I have 11 books. I have 11 books on that I'm selling in one tier. And it seems like yesterday that you hit me up after my first book and said, "Hey man, you're doing good stuff. Come check out what's happening in my community." And 4 years later, went through one pandemic, and yeah, and it's kind of wild that I've got 11 books that I'm selling. I'm selling, right?
Yeah, before you know it, you keep putting one panel in front of the other, one page, one launch in front of the other. They stack up pretty good.
Yeah.
I had another creator in the community who was like, had just off the top of his head said, he's like, yeah, and I've done Kickstarter. I think I've raised about $20,000, and then he went and double checked. He's like, no, wait a minute, I'm about to cross $50,000.
Yeah, you're saying that Jack was saying that.
Yeah.
That's cool. It made me think. After I heard that, I was like, well, let me pull out the calculator and see what I've done. And I was like, well, if I hit $5,000, hopefully I'll do more than that. But if I hit that, then I'll be at 25K for the campaigns.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty cool. That's something.
That's
there.
That's not nothing.
That's not nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's another just back to the topic of mental health. Like, so often, like the thing that gets us in the most trouble is when we fall into like gap thinking, where we are so focused on where we are versus where we're trying to ultimately get one day.
Yeah.
And if that's the only thing that you ever look at, and you don't take some stock at, here's where you are, here's where you started, then you're always going to feel, lesser, not worthy, not enough, etc.
Yeah.
And so,
you try to not get overwhelmed. Try not to get overwhelmed by looking at the big picture all the time, and take it slow, take it day by day. Make a couple of accomplishments, check them off your list. Acknowledge the accomplishments that you do, the not necessarily the things that didn't happen or the negative things that happen, but take a look at all the positive things that happened that day, and the things that you were able to accomplish. And most importantly, I said this before, give yourself some grace. All of us are like, what we're doing is difficult, but we're all creative types. We have this desire to put our work out into the world, and it's an important thing. It's an important thing for us to get our stuff out there, because people appreciate it, and you have your fans, and it brings value to their life. And so so just give yourself some grace, and and I'll leave it at that. I just lost.
Oh, that's me.
That's you.
That's
okay.
me. My boy just came home from school and was pretty boisterous, and I forgot to unmute myself again.
Okay.
But I think that's a great place to leave it, Robert. Great conversation to have with you. Once again, we have Turner Family Terrors will be on Kickstarter. It'll be live when this goes live, and we hope people check it out. A lot of time still on the clock, but it's got an endorsement by me. What more do you really need?
Exactly. And I want to thank you, Tyler, man. You've helped out a lot of people, and you've been a rock for our community, and you've influenced more people than you even know, because I'm going to be conveying everything that I know to my sister when she does her first children's book in a few months. So I just want you to know that I really appreciate you and what you've given creating this community, and you're good people, man. You're good people.
Well, I appreciate that, Robert, and thanks for the kind words. And definitely keep me in the loop on that children's book, because we we definitely go through a lot of them around here in this household. So
All right, sounds good.
love backing those projects as well. But
All right.
thanks so much, Robert, for
All right.
joining me. Have a great rest of the day. Thanks
right,
everyone
man.
for tuning in Comics Launch Land, and we can't wait to see what you launch next. Take care, everybody.
All right, see ya.